And now, please welcome founder of Whetstone Media, Stephen Satterfield.
Okay, hello everyone. Good afternoon. I know I'm catching y'all right before the break, so I'll try to get right to it. My name is Stephen Satterfield. I'm the founder of Whetstone Media. I'm also the host of Netflix's High on the Hog, which is based on Jessica B. Harris's book of the same title. So today I will be talking about food. I'm the resident food guy here today. And specifically, I'll talk about my own journey in food, some really important revelations along that journey. And I'll finish up with maybe reiterating or restating how I think you all here can take those revelations and make them your own. So my journey in food actually started in earnest as a teenager in Portland, Oregon, where I was enrolled at the Western Culinary Institute. So I studied hospitality, restaurant management, and as a very young person and as really an accident, became a sommelier before my 21st birthday. So as is customary in the management and hospitality school, we had to take an introduction to wine course, and we actually had multiple parts of this course in which I continued my own education. And by the time I had made it to my second level sommelier certification, they found out this young man's still a minor, but I passed the test. And so statute of limitations and all of that, I spent about 10 years in a really multifaceted, dynamic career in wine that spanned from fine dining restaurants in Portland, Atlanta, which is my hometown, to South Africa and beyond. And one of the things that you learn as a wine person, as a sommelier, is the notion of a word that y'all probably know, the word terroir, if there's any French speakers. I don't speak French, but I can say that in a convincing manner, terroir. So terroir is really, it's about origin. It's about where things begin. And one of the things that became apparent to me as a young sommelier, the thing that separates the novices from the connoisseurs in the wine world is not really a commentary on how the wine tastes or how it smells or the legs on the glass. What it really is that when connoisseurs talk about wine, they talk about where the wine came from. They talk about the place of origin. They talk about the terroir of the wine, which is another way to say where the wine originated. So this was a really important insight for me, because once you get sommelier brained, it's hard to unsee these revelations, or at least it was for me, in other parts of my life and throughout the world. So for instance, I began to think about my own personal terroir and your terroir, where we came from, and how the soil and the climate and the slopes, and also critically human intervention, played into how we are and who we are. And I felt that this revelation as a food person had not really been properly and thoroughly explored. And so in 2017, I started a print magazine called Whetstone that was dedicated to food origins and culture, and took this thesis really around origin and extrapolated it across multiple formats. So what you're looking at here, I believe, is from our first season of High on the Hog. As I mentioned in my introduction, this is a show that was released in 2021 based on the work of Dr. Jessica B. Harris, who has written probably 24 books about the foodways of the African diaspora. Now, of course, being a descendant of the African diaspora is my own personal food story, but the reason that this show did well is that it really functions, in my opinion, as proof of the larger thesis around origin, and specifically how food has a unique and singular quality and ability to connect all of us to our own origins. And the reason that this is I think, pretty simple, and that is, it's the only thing that I have in common with every single person in this room. It's the only thing we all have in common, is that we must eat. Breathing is not part of our culture, right? Sleeping is not a cultural event, it's a human event. The only shared cultural connection that we all have is food. And even if we don't all eat the same foods, we are all human beings, and it is the only conscious and cultural activity that we all share as human beings, which is why I'm here today. So Skift is a travel brand. Y'all are presumably travel people, hospitality people. And I've been a big fan of Skift for many years, following their growth journey, following Rafat's diatribes on Twitter back in the day. I don't know if that's still going on, but a lot of that stuff for me as a young media entrepreneur in 2017, 18, I really looked to Skift to see what it looked like to have an independent platform in a niche category that could speak to multiple audiences all over the world. And so the growth of this conference is, in fact, part of the larger thesis that I'm sharing with you now. And I think you all probably have access to this data. In fact, you all probably have better data than I have. But I bet that we would all agree that what we're seeing and what we've heard today is that the primary impetus for travel is actually the food, right? It's about where will we eat, but furthermore, it's really about, I want to go eat there. And this is a thing that I have now started to call the Bourdain Effect, right? And I think even in naming it the Bourdain Effect, you all will know what I'm talking about. And it's this notion of putting yourself in the first person of Anthony Bourdain and traveling around the world with food as the primary catalyst for cultural connection. I think we would all struggle to find someone who is more universally revered than Anthony Bourdain. And I think that that bears asking why that is. And I believe that the answer to that question, the why, actually informs what you all are missing right now. And that is, we've all, your industry, even my industry to some degree, has deeply underestimated the power of food, the power of our only unified cultural connection as human beings. This was the case with Marco Polo in the 1300s, right? This is going to be the case as long as we're still here as human beings. 1,300 years from now, the desire to explore and also food as a proxy for human beings is unmistakable, but it's not communicated in these terms. So when I say that food is a proxy for people, I mean that food is the sum of plants, animals, technology, migration. That's who we are as humans. So our approach to food has been one that we call an anthropological approach, or a human-centered approach, that uses all of our collective origins or a singular story to make sense of our global story. And this is actually what's missing in the discourse right now, right? We know that culturally, politically, our country, and in fact the entire world, is fragmented, and that fragmentation is only deepening. And it has been a dizzying few years for marketing people who are trying to have their budgets keep up with the cultural trends. I don't envy any of you in the room who have had to do that. I also don't envy myself as the business that's trying to keep up with the marketing dollars, but that's a different conversation. So here's something that's more enduring for you all, which is food. Because again, that's how we got here, right? And in fact, without food, none of you would be here. All of your ancestors, my ancestors, all needed food to bring the next generation forward into fruition. So there is a nutritive element about the human constitution. There's also the cultural element, which, I mean, we've heard from Dubai. We have folks here from all over the world. I think that goes without saying. Our work here explores African American foodways. But there's also a commercial element here, and this is the part that I want to leave you with, that's missing, right? We have the data that is informing the primary reason for traveling. We have, from what I can tell, the most prestigious travel conference, maybe on planet Earth, and there's only one person here talking about food. And all of your data and all of your travelers have already told you all that the reason that they go travel is about food, and because they want to play Anthony Bourdain in their own lives. There's also something else here too, which is about story. And story has actually been the largest revelation of my career over the last decade. And what I want to tell you about story, especially when you add it to this revelation around food and the fact that you all are underestimating the power and potency of the only shared experience that we all have as humans, how can you articulate that message to best capture the full potency, power, and potential of food? We need a compelling story. So a compelling story is a story that is emotive. If you tell me a story and I don't feel anything, you've lost the moment. I can feel rage, inspiration, joy, devastation, jealousy, but I need an emotion. And so the material that travel brands, the hospitality industry, the travel industry broadly, is putting together to market the destination is missing the gravitational force of emotion. Now, it's a hard thing for a marketing agency or an entity to say, let's make an emotional campaign. Everyone's terrified right now, right? Because again, we have whiplash. What's the moment? Food is enduring. Human connection is enduring. And so the investment in telling better food stories is actually an enduring strategy. And because no one in travel is telling that story really well about their destination, If y'all want to check me on that, please come see me after the talk. I would love to learn about the campaigns. I'm just saying I haven't seen it as a creative, as a media maker. And I think that's the opportunity here, because your people are telling you why they're going on the road, why they're leaving the house, but you all aren't meeting them, which means what's missed at the destination itself, right? So coming back to the story, right, we need to create an emotive story that is related to not a shared political, cultural, geographic, racial, religious orientation. This is divisive. We don't know how to talk to everyone at once. Maybe what makes sense is to talk about the food culture of the place that you're from. Because somewhere tied up in the anthropological and emotive storytelling about the only thing that we all have in common as human beings is the opportunity for everyone to see themselves. And the reason that I know that is because when our show came out and was broadcast to 191 different countries and 75 different languages, I felt that I got a message from all of those countries in almost every single one of those languages telling me, thank you for making this. These were not people with whom I have a cultural background or connection who saw themselves in my story, which was told with food, as a vessel, right? The airplane is actually not the vessel, it's the technology. What people are asking y'all for is for food to be the vessel. The airplane gets us there. The food is actually the impetus. And I don't see it. And when I do see it, I say, I don't believe these people. These aren't food people. I don't actually think that these people understand food or understand how much I want food to inform where I go. Because when I watch Bourdain on TV, he's cool and everything, but I'm actually thinking about what it would be like for me to be in that spot, right? This is the effect. This is also why he is was a, RIP to the legend, a generational storyteller. It's why you could see from Bhutan to Bahrain to Boston, in all of those stories, you all saw yourselves. Now, how many other opportunities in media, in earnest, do you feel that that's been afforded? That's what's missing. It's the opportunity. So I'm going to wrap with a clip here from High on the Hog, in which we highlight rice, Carolina gold rice, and we will look at how this microcosm of a story functions as a geographical story and invoking a curiosity that for the contemporary traveler is enough to compel them to visit the destination. And the reason that I know this is because there have been tours that have now been developed just based on this one scene that I'm going to share with you all. So thanks for your attention. Thanks for your interest. Don't underestimate the power of food. And I hope that we have a chance to work together in bringing these messages to more broad audiences all over the world. Appreciate y'all. Thanks.
So as long as we're here myth busting, do you have any other foods that come to mind that are of African origin that people assume to be from America?
So we've got black-eyed peas, we've got okra, we've got watermelon, we've got the yam confusion.
Okay.
What else have we got? Rice.
And rice.
And rice.
Here is one of the other cruxes or nexuses of African foodways is rice,
Absolutely.
The beginning of us.
And the thing with Benin is it may not be the rice coast, but it was the slave coast. This red rice is Nigerian
Oh,
rice.
okay.
Il y a
Là,
qualité par qualité. Il y a qualité supérieure. On appelle ça jollof.
jollof. Alors ça c'est le riz pour le riz jollof.
Oui, jollof. Pointimini cassé une fois. Il y en a cassé 2 fois.
Okay.
Il y en a cassé total.
So there's broken once, and they call it jollof.
Oui, jollof.
Jollof, like jollof rice.
Every time I see rice, I can't not think about how this is the thing that built the wealth of our nation, our now nation, before it even was a nation.
Made Charleston.
Made Charleston happen.
In the Sea Islands in South Carolina, you know.
Yeah.
It was rice, 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 and more rice. It was the foundation.
Yeah.
It was absolutely the foundation. Okay?
Merci.
Merci, madame.
Au revoir. Thanks.